Ladies and gentlemen, Alex, you're not dead yet.
I, yeah, against all odds.
Against all odds. And I'm surprised by that. I don't know why I opened that way. But ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:01 p.m. March 17th, 2023. This is the Game Bites podcast, the world's greatest video game show, and now officially the only gaming podcast to officially endorse the conspiracy theory that JFK shot first.
There's a lot of evidence. Got to look the other way.
You got to look away from the grassy hill and see what was going on in that car. You know, I felt like what?
I just accidentally overgeneralize conspiracies in general.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory, the newest one. Just look the other way.
Just look the other way. There's nothing going on
Just
there.
look the other way.
Oh, man. You know, I think it's been way too long for us not to talk about the JFK conspiracy theory. And so, yeah, most of this episode, we're going to step away from games and we're going to get more into the things that matter, such as JFK. So anyways, yeah. I'm kidding. No, tonight's episode is Diablo 4, Do We Want More? So naturally, we'll be talking a little bit more about the Diablo 4 beta. I spent about 2 hours in it today. We'll also talk a lot about what's going on in the gaming world and what we're playing. Alex, how are you been, sir?
I've been good. My upper lip is really warm. I felt it was cooling down earlier this week, so I decided to put a little hat on it. I noticed at the age of 33, I'm developing a bald spot in my mustache. That is false. That is a scar from a dog bite when I was 12 years old. But I didn't know it comes through.
Yeah.
But that is literally the only thing that went on this whole week was I shaved 10 minutes before this podcast. But this episode, I myself will be checking out after an hour. It's actually my 4-year anniversary with, I was going to say wife, but we've been dating for 4 years, but we've been married for 4 months and 8 months.
She's technically your ex-girlfriend and ex-fiance. So just yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're just going to get dinner tonight.
Well, tell your ex-fiance I said hi.
She's my ex-fiance. You tell her yourself.
Hey, I yes. Okay.
How's your week?
Week's been good. I did not get to go to Nashville as we talked about. I started to feel kind of iffy the night before and figured that a trip to Nashville for just celebration and consuming alcohol was not ideal, considering that I was already feeling, not great. So I took the vacation anyways, though, and just sat at home, watched a bunch of Tremors. They made 8 of those films. Most of them are mediocre or poor, but they're fun. And that's pretty much it. Brianna left me. Not for good. She's just in Cleveland, which is almost as bad as permanently leaving me, but that's her burden to bear at the moment. So yeah.
That's not an escape.
Yeah.
That's just one pit to another.
Yeah, it is. But no, I got into the Diablo 4 beta. We'll talk about that, like I said. All I will hint at is I liked it. And I think just keeping things moving, since you have a date with your ex-girlfriend, I'm going to go into the questions that we got. So 2 things came up. One, talking about Diablo 4 and keeping on that topic, how do we feel about so for those that don't know, right now this weekend, Diablo 4 is running in what they call an open beta for those who have pre-ordered their game or have bought a chicken sandwich from KFC. One or the other gets you into the beta, right?
Yeah.
And the question is, how do we feel about having this early access for a beta behind a paid wall, such as paying for a beta? Now, it's an interesting question because my initial take is I think it's kind of shenanigans, to keep with the Irish language of St. Patrick's Day. That is, it's really not a beta in the truest sense, right? This is a large scale demo that has the benefit of doing some network tests, but I don't think any AAA game developer is truly relying on you and me to give them great feedback on bugs, right? That's kind of my initial take. So is it a beta? Not technically. They're calling it that.
But you think it's more built like a demo?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's 100%. I mean, there's definitely still bugs that they're ironing out. And don't get me wrong, they're going to get insight on this that they will improve upon. Like I actually submitted a bug because I like QA. But yeah, I think like overall, like games still hire QA people. They don't pay them well, which is a problem. But I just don't see. I think the biggest criticism is that like it's not really fair calling this a true beta, if that makes sense. I'll stop there. Alex, what are your thoughts on this?
If they are relying on users to stress test their system and look at bugs, I'm kind of okay with that, as opposed to every other game that releases and it is an absolute nightmare, and then they find out all these bugs, and by that point, or at that point in time, a lot of people might fall off or make a decision to not buy the game because of the backlash. So if a game's, as far as paying for it, I find that a little strange. But if these people pre-ordered the game, they already have a mindset that it's okay to give a company money before you get the product. So
yeah,
it's just kind of like early access at that point. But hey, they know what they're going to get,
Yeah.
But like I said, if they can iron anything they can iron out before release, I'm all for it. I would have stress tested any game that I planned on buying, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also you can probably return. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe you can return it if you wanted to, because it didn't come out yet. So you can cancel the purchase.
Yeah,
that got you access. And at the end of the day, all you're really doing is paying for a game. You're getting this 3-month early demo. And we could talk more about what that experience is so far. But yeah, I mean, it would be really garbage, like for both the game, the developer company, and players themselves, if they were solely exporting all of their beta testing onto the general public for lots of reasons. One being it would be horrible quality for testing and fixing. Second being it's unfair to kind of say, give me money and you could work for me, But yeah, so that's the question we got. I think the second item that was brought up, we'll talk about this a bit more. Maybe it's a great part to transition into the news, but Lance Reddick, star of The Wire, which I never watched, John Wick, which I have, my personal favorite show, Fringe, great show, Lost, and also in Horizon Zero Dawn and General Zavala in Destiny, has passed away at 60, and that is so young and sad. Like that's shocking to me.
Yeah, the only hint is that that's low resolution. I didn't know if it was my thing buffering. Yeah, okay, it's just focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only hint that this was not out of nowhere was he was not at the premiere for John Wick, I think 4, the other night. So there might have been some health issues leading right up to this. So I don't believe it was sudden. But that's not really, the main business to talk about here. But yeah, he was an incredible voice actor. I thought that was his voice, like really close to just Keith David's just normal voice. But no, that was Lance, voice acting.
Yeah.
Because I see him in other stuff and I realize he doesn't have that same voice. It's all effort. But yeah, if you've played Destiny, he's an avid player of that. He does a ton of stuff for Destiny on Twitter, and he does script reading for fans and stuff like that. He's an avid fan of the series, and he's the only one, like, of the remaining like big 3 voice actors from the first characters from the first game. So yeah, you probably know him from Destiny or Silence, which they used him as the in-game model as well in Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, so, I like when games do that.
Tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tragic. So they say it was natural causes at 60, which I don't know. I mean, death is natural. Like, again, may he rest in peace. Prayers for his family. He's got a wife and kids. That's not easy right now. But I didn't know that there was this potential inkling of it because of the John Wick premiere. When did John Wick premiere?
I think last week. Like,
okay.
They do the premiere before it actually comes out in theaters and stuff.
And and there was, his last tweet was very, mysterious and perhaps just coincidental. It was just him walking through a doorway saying, and the beat goes on, and you hear dogs barking, and he's just looking. And that was 2 days ago. And it's just like, yeah, maybe maybe he got I don't know, like, right?
Yeah.
No use in pontificating, but yeah, that is tragic, very sad. Again, big to the world of Destiny. Going off of that, this is from GameSpot. Again, I haven't played Destiny for a few weeks, but written by
Yeah.
Moises Tavares. Destiny 2 players paying tribute to Lance Reddick, Commander Zavala in game. So essentially just a bunch of people are lining up in the main hub, paying tribute. This has happened before in other large live games like Final Fantasy XIV a few years ago as
Princess
well.
Leia. I remember that too on the online Star Wars game when what's her name died?
Carrie Fisher. Yeah.
They went up to her NPC as well.
Yeah. Was that the Old Republic? Because she wasn't in that game, but
I don't know, but they went up to her character.
I wonder what game it was. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, sad day. I mean, very sad day. Again, I knew him most from Fringe. I talk about that like once a week because that's a great show, but ended terribly. And yeah, he was a good actor. I sent you a video that I'm not going to talk about, but it's a clip from him on the Eric and Andre show. I've never watched that show before.
Andre, one name.
Eric. It's just Eric Andre. Okay.
Yeah, it's not Eric and Andre.
The guy tweeted out was like, basically shout out to Lance because he's the only guy to ever shook Eric Andre. And,
yeah, make him break his character.
Yeah, it was funny. You can look that up under your own volition, though. So, again, requisite and pass. Rest in peace, Sir Reddick, and yeah, prayers for the family. Okay, so Alex, I see you put down here games that you're playing, and I'll be honest, I never heard about them, and I'm suspicious. But I want to quelch some rumors that that's just getting out there. A lot of people are talking. It's trending on Twitter. It's trending on Instagram. Is Alex McConnell going to sell his mustache as an NFT? I'll leave that up to the viewers. If you're in chat, if you're watching the video, comment and let us know if you think he should. Listen, people have made money doing stranger things.
We have news we're getting into about Pokemon getting into NFTs, maybe Konami with some NFTs. We have Square with some NFTs. So I thought now, not a couple years ago, when more people were more gullible, I thought now was the perfect time to do an NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, you're still debating what you're going to do there. I think either way, people will benefit from more of that mustache. I see Coach Paul's in the chat saying he's disappointed he only sees one, but he'd pay $350. I think that's a good price to start off with, but it's rare. There's only.
But I think mustaches do belong in the blockchain, and that's it. Nowhere else. To be honest,
the mustache blockchain is the next revolution of Web 3.0. We just don't know about it yet.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The hairy situation.
Yeah. Going on to what you mentioned there, article from Video Game Chronicles, written by Chris Schulian. The Pokemon Company is hiring someone with deep knowledge of NFTs and the metaverse. To quote the article, go ahead.
Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah.
I just picture the only person with deep knowledge of an NFT is some dude who paid $12,000 for some picture of a gorilla and is still trying to sell it.
It's like, listen, guys.
Only person with deep knowledge of an NFT.
This is a great idea. You should do it. All right, yeah.
Yeah, you guys, please, someone just keep saying the word.
Yeah. So the Pokemon, and again, quoting from the article, the Pokemon Company International has posted a new job listing looking for someone with blockchain, NFT, and metaverse expertise, among other skills. Skills, not scales. We're not talking about dragons, Mark. The listing for a corporate development principal describes, quote, an instrumental role in the company's president and corporate development office. The office has a number of responsibilities, one of which involves advising the Pokemon Company president and the executive leadership team on the long-term strategic direction of the company. It goes on to talk about how the rules will include, oh gosh, it even mentions, so yeah. Under a heading titled, What You'll Bring, the job listing states that the preferred candidate will, among other things, have, quote, deep knowledge and understanding of Web 3.0, including blockchain technologies and NFT and or metaverse. So I'll leave it at that. What I'll say is I'm not surprised, because if there's any game or property out there that makes like sense to use an NFT I'll use the language, just give someone no value, but people will spend money on it. It's Pokemon. Right? I mean, imagine your own uniquely colored shinies and rare Pokemon. This is the only one that exists. Yada yada yada. Yeah, I will cry if this invades the mainstream game, but I would not be surprised if this invades something else outside of the games, if you will. So, Alex, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, if they're talking about trading pictures or code for, not selling it. Well, people do sell it, but
Yeah.
I mean, Pokemon's been doing that for years now. We all trade little data to one or another if we're trading Pokemon. So, or if you're using like the Wonder Trade system or anything. So it's all data to begin with. It's all coded. So they're kind of already doing this, except for now they want to enter the, I don't know. That's a whole nother monster. NFTs and NFTs in general.
NFTs, that's the future. Yeah.
NFTs is actually my new brand. I'm going to do an NFTs of the NFTs later. Just a little teaser trailer.
I like it. Mustache and cheese, that goes together well. You're right though. This is the one thing that's kind of always racked my brain in a weird way, which is gaming companies in their own ways, they're already selling or giving players unique digital assets that are only available in certain mediums or formats. Pokemon, when you do that Wonder Trade, you get a Pokemon from some, who knows, probably from like some person in China who's...
Yeah, but it has a trainer ID.
It tells you where they caught them in the game, when they caught them. Like there's a unique ledger, if you will, history. And the big thing about NFTs is like, oh, we're going to be using a blockchain ledger. And I could care less, personally. Like it just seems to me, and this happens, there's all kinds of trendy phrases, but it just seems like a bullish method of trying to excite investors. And I look at it as like a card castle. Like it's thin to me. It's fragile, and I think in 5 to 10 years, I could be very wrong. I just don't think we'll be talking about it.
that's what I was to say. I just think them trying to do NFTs now is like any other big developer trying to still do Battle Pass. Just like get over it. Like we're done. I don't know who you're going to scrape here to get more money, but it's past it.
Mr. Mime is behind it all. Never trust a clown that can't talk. That's what I say.
You say that a lot.
I do. Yeah. I text that to you every morning. I always remember, Alex. Anyway, so yeah, that's going on there. And as you mentioned, there's some additional news with NFTs. So I'll go into it here. One, Konami filed a trademark. And again, this is an article from the Video Game Chronicles by Jordan Midler. A new Konami trademark could refer to Castlevania. Reports of a new entry in the Castlevania franchise have been ongoing. The trademark, which is for the phrase Project Zircon, which if you've played the games, you often collect a material called Zircon in them.
Mr. Zircon was in Ratchet and Clank also.
It's like an actual material.
Mr. Zircon.
Yeah. So Project Zircon was applied for last week and published today. The trademark was sought for use in a large number of fields, including software for commercial video game machines. As noted by Gamatsu, the name Project Zircon may be a reference to an item found in the Castlevania series. Zircon is a jewel that is found in several Castlevania games and first made its appearance in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It should be noted that the Project Zircon trademark also covers Konami for use in arcade machines and other, quote, commercial prize-winning game machines, meaning it is not certainty that it refers to an upcoming console game. So this kind of goes in hand with the fact that VGC also reported a few weeks ago that Konami should most likely be showing Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake and a new Castlevania game at E3. And even last week, I think we talked about this, but one of the directors at Konami basically said, we're excited that people are excited about Castlevania coming back for the Dead Cell DLC. Yeah. So, you know, I said NFTs because I was listening to Game S Mornings with Jeff Grubb, and I think Jordan Midler, one of the guys from VGC, one maybe not, basically saying like this sounds like it could also be related to NFTs, specifically because Square Enix had a patent trademark filed a few months ago that they were talking about called Symbiogenesis. And people thought it was a reference to, I believe, an older Square game. Maybe
Not the
Silent
Origins of Venom.
Yeah, that's it. maybe Parasite Eve. So they thought it was a reference to Parasite Eve. I believe that's the Square Enix game. Let me double check. I think that's it. Yes, Parasite Eve is a game made by Square Enix. So this was a few months ago. They were like, oh, new patent for Symbiogenesis. This is just Tony Hill's Resident Evil 4 remake coming out. All the news of Silent Hill remake coming out. And now there's this patent. Are we going to get a Parasite Eve remake? Which is one of those games that you'll never play. And it ended up being an NFT game, which is also on the list for today, because we got news about it as well this week. March 14th, this is the article from, again, VGC, Chris Leon. Square Enix shows a trailer for its Symbiogenesis NFT game, says it'll have 10,000 characters. So I honestly don't even know what the game's about. It was announced in November. Yeah, so it's a digital collectible art project with the game behind it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think I want to bring it up in reference to the Konami gun, because the Konami one could just be another one of these, like, oh, Symbiogenesis, that was a Parasite Eve thing. But turns out it was just some NFT ploy by Square. It only has 10,000 characters, so does that mean only 10,000 people could play the game?
Well, unless it's collectibles, like Pokemon.
Or they're NFTs, so like they're unique individual. Right? Yeah. I don't know. So, it's... I don't want it to happen.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm saying. I hope they spend their time and money and effort and all that towards other things more productive. But
yeah. So, I mean, all this NFT news has got me sad, but I see you've been enjoying a lot of new NFT games. Let me look at what you put here in the comments for new releases.
I've been playing NFT Origins, NFT Unbound, NFT 5 New Dawn, NFT Kill the NFTs, Crash Team NFTs.
That's my favorite.
Midnight NFTs. And there was also like a Dance Dance NFTs. So it's been a busy week.
Well, you're leading me on here, because there's also this NFTs, which, you know, that's
I'm not going to spoil what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. We might all be our healthcare might be NFT in the future, and I might.
Did you? Where in the blockchain is your insurance card?
I don't know. Just stab me in my feet, please. Instead, I'll take away the pain. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. In other news, Microsoft and Sony, your favorite drama, continues to unfold a bit. It's kind of interesting, actually, because the UK CMA this past week posted 6 studios, quotes from these studios, that have essentially said, let this deal go through. And at the same time, the European Union, so both UK CMA is the UK's regulatory body, EU has its own regulatory body, and the EU regulatory body pushed back the decision, which was supposed to come in, I believe, April, and they're pushing it back to May. 1 second. Effie, Plutarch has a hurt leg, and you're whining at him to play with you. Effie, go lay down. Go lay down. Sorry, she's like Plutarch's limping back here. Well, you can see him limp. Look at him limp. He's stretching. He's limping over here. It's okay, Bubba's. He'll still attack her.
When I saw you said 6 studios, they let it happen. Those studios, brand new this week. It's Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft. We got Zycrosoft. They all support this merger.
Yeah, it is interesting. So I do want to talk about the article from GameSpot by Eddie McCooch. Microsoft's deal to buy Activision Blizzard could only be a good thing, one company says. So there was, I believe, 6 different market participants who shared their thoughts on the buyout, quoting the article here. And only one company went on record and kept its name public. The other 5 submitted their opinions anonymously. So this is interesting. So these are third-party publishers. These aren't console makers. These are people that make games and sell games on both platforms. And there's some geopolitical stuff here, but there's also some stuff referencing just like game discovery as well. So I'll talk about one quote here. Ultimately said that, quote, market participant C, that's their name. Meanwhile, the CEO from an independent game studio that says they worked with top game publishers, including Microsoft, Sony, and Activision. This unnamed executive said Microsoft is trustworthy, and to, quote, build a stronger catalog, other platforms also aspire to acquire publishers and developers. This person said, such consolidation is a natural evolution of the business and does not necessarily constitute SLCs. I'm not sure what he's at. But then they go on to say that competition from China is a real concern. and asked the CMA, so this is market participant C, I believe, to consider if UK consumers would be better served if Tencent swooped in to buy Activision Blizzard. Now, in the context of this discussion, it's kind of a red herring, in my opinion, but this quote, this is just the truth of the markets. Quote, Chinese publishers in our industry benefit from an unfair advantage due to the fact that the China market is closed to Western companies through various regulations, while Chinese companies can freely access the Western markets. Letting Microsoft and Activision consolidate their business and late on this fast-growing competition would be against the interest of UK consumers, quote, he said. That's market participancy. That last sentence, I don't agree with that inherently. Like, that's the debate of this lawsuit. But the first part is true. Like, US and Western developers, if they want to release something in China, they have to really follow a lot of regulations. The same is not true for Chinese markets. Tencent buys a lot of games, a lot of companies, puts games out in America and the rest of Europe that look a certain way, and they don't care, but they'll do what they have to do for the Chinese market as well. So that part is true. I don't know. The part that I think is interesting, though, is market participant E, who's a multi-platform game distributor. This person said sales of its games on PlayStation platforms have grown stagnant due to bigger games getting more attention. Sony also gives preferential treatment to studios and publishers who are willing to spend, quote, lots of money on paid marketing, they said. This is their words. This means that on PlayStation, it simply isn't a level playing field for every publisher and developer. It has meant that as the years have gone by, if you put a smaller title on PlayStation devices now, your title will rarely appear organically to PlayStation players. Instead, you are 100% reliant on players knowing about your game already and searching for it on their store. On Xbox, the opposite has come true for this unnamed company, thanks to Xbox discovery tools and Game Pass. Now, what I will say to that last point, Game Pass, from an indie game development perspective, like I've in that space, right? Following that trend, there are a lot of indie developers that have had a lot of success and are grateful for Game Pass because Microsoft has gone out to support those developers. I can't speak on PlayStation's discoverability because when we try to launch games on their storefront, it was the worst experience of my life. I'd prefer a root canal. I never worked with a more confusing back-end system. And this has actually been talked about. This is separate from this conversation, but in-game developers working with PlayStation is not easy at all. So I'll stop there because I think those are the two interesting quotes. Naturally, everyone of these 6 articles is saying, hey, these 6 people in this article are saying it's not a bad thing. But Alex, what are your thoughts on what I just shared?
I'm curious what the discovery tools that they're talking about, or that discovery zone, that's not a jungle gym for kids on the Xbox, because for PlayStation, especially that you mentioned that it's hard to get on there or difficult or something, because every time I go on there and just try to look for games, once you get to like the bottom half, it's like borderline shovelware or just random stuff you've never heard of that no one knows about or no one talks about. So I'm just curious, all that stuff. And it's the same with PlayStation. Like, here's the mid-March sale.
Yeah.
Here's the second weekend of March sale. 200 titles. Every single time, it's always the same stuff plus discounts on in-game currency for GTA and NBA. It's annoying, but they have these sales every month, but it's just a whole bunch of a list of nothing or games that were already on sale literally the day before.
Yeah.
As far as discovery, my experience with PlayStation is, hey, guess what? Game called Fortnite exists. Please download this now. I keep getting that same ad every single time. I wish I could delete it from the PlayStation. Like, I never want to see it. Sure. Same with Last of Us, constantly pushing Last of Us and stuff. Which I get it, but there is no discovery. It is, here's the same 6 games, please play. Here's Madden 2023 that did horrible, please buy it. Here's NBA 2K23. It just seems like it's a bunch of sponsored stuff pushed forward.
And that's
my
what
experience.
That's what this person's saying, is that ultimately, and so stepping away from video games in the consumer goods space, if you want your Doritos to be at the perfect eye level to get checked out by consumers, you pay for that shelving space for distribution.
Yep.
And so in this digital shelving space, people are there's definitely a buy-in to have the premier sponsorship. So, and again, it makes sense that Sony's going to put their first party games above. It makes sense that Sony's going to put the big sellers above whenever these types of sales happen and all these other things occur. But I think what this game developer is saying is like, hey, for us, it's also good to have, we do better on Xbox essentially. And what I will say is, like, with Game Pass, there is this sense of like games you'll like based on what you play that does try to feed you new games. Now, I don't typically look at that, but I'll step back and say I think you and I are a little bit different here because we do talk about games so much in games that are coming out and what people are, the niche stuff that people don't know about. So like we're in that 5% quartile or less that like we know what we're looking for. And when I go on Game Pass, I know what I'm looking for. Or if I go on PlayStation, I know what I'm looking for. So I think, again, this ironically comes down to like, hey, this person's basically saying we want Microsoft to be more successful in the long run, because if they do have more of a market share, that means us as an indie game developer have more of a market opportunity too.
Yeah.
And again, I agree with that idea. I can't speak to this notion that this is the only way for Microsoft to be successful though. And for like, I agree that indie game developers, personally because I'm biased, but also I think they put out a lot of good stuff that isn't skewed with all the game monetization mechanics. But I don't think that necessarily means that we should let a merger happen of this scale and size, right?
That's what I was thinking. Like this easily could be Walmart and saying like a company or anyone saying like it's easier to put our products on a shelf in Walmart because it's so big rather than like a billion different mom and pop shops. And they could just easily be saying like Walmart is fine the way it is. But you're like, no, we got to stop Walmart at some point because it's a monopoly and all this stuff. I mean, it's not what's happening, but like these acquisitions and everything, it just, if you switch it to another market that's not gaming, you might have issues with it, but it's almost the same thing.
Yeah. And again, I honestly, I'm not going to be surprised when it seems like Microsoft gets the deal through, because I don't think they're purely looking at it on the morals of, is this fair or not from a native market perspective? I think they honestly are looking at larger geopolitical things with companies that are foreign. Like, I think they are putting all that into the equation, and that argument we just talked about sounds good as well. So like, we'll use that as a thing. And again, a quote from the chat here, Sarge, no one ever looks at anything but the top of the sales list on PlayStation. I know I don't. It's an interesting situation. Again, I get the idea of an indie game developer wanting to be wanting a platform that they're more successful on to be more successful in of itself. That makes sense to me. But again, like you and I are saying, Alex, that doesn't mean that you let this merger happen either, because that also sets a lot of troubling precedent from a company's perspective. And I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. Like people justifying it by, it would be better for me if this happened. Yeah. Sounds pretty selfish rather than like, this would be good for me, but you got to think of it as more like on the principle of the matter. Is this okay? Because I get what they're saying, and that's cool. If that helps out indie developers, cool. But it's also like kind of selfish on principle to ignore the principle for selfish reasons.
Yeah, there go the dogs. And I think the biggest benefit to indie game developers is the PC marketplace, honestly. But same problem with PlayStation. Steam has a lot of trash. And even Nintendo, which Nintendo Switch was great for depiction. We were very successful on the Switch. It's our best platform, still is. But there's a lot of trash too on there too. So there is this quality quantity paradigm that has to come into conversation too. So I don't know. My crazy opinion is if you're a company that has $1 billion in value, you can't buy other companies anymore. If you can still grow. Like
you won, you made it.
Yeah, you won, but you need to innovate from the inside. You just can't keep buying, like, because as generic middle-aged white guy playing games says in the chat, which this is just Will versus Will. They're both killing the mom and pop shops. And like, at the end of the day, that's where I care most about. Like, there's a problem if you don't have certain boundaries and rules in a market. And a market to me is only worthwhile if it's moral and just. And at the end of the day, the main part of a market to me is that people can work, and work is for the people, not people are for work. You know what I mean? Like, we're not here to serve things. Work is a way for us to live, and it gets problematic when you have large concentration of capital, in my opinion, in any hands. Like if capital is concentrated in private companies or government, then people that are you and I struggle, right? And it's this weird paradigm of, how do you actually let the market do what it's supposed to do, which is just to be a nourishing thing. And this is the problem of having Microsoft getting more, acquisitions under their belt too. So in the short term, it might benefit one or two indie developers, but there are probably a lot of consequences as well that will happen. Either way, I still think it's going to fall through, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, because like it seems like every month the argument, if it's literally, it doesn't matter with the principle, but as literally, if it just comes down to who's arguing better, this is like extremely one-sided every single month.
Yeah. Paul says Mark is cooking right now. Keep going. What I will say is my ideas are not my own. If you're ever interested in what's inspired me, look up a guy named G.K. Chesterton in distributivism. That's the method. Yeah. It's very, very, no, I'll leave it at that. Anyways, it is not communism, but we don't need to get into politics. We already got into politics when he said JFK shot first. I'll leave it at that.
Look the other way.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll continue and say, well, this is probably going to happen. It is going to be, thank you for doing that, by the way. You hide it out. Oh, that was really nice of you. What I will say this, and I want to get into this now because we only have an hour and I want to cover the most important things. Talking about the Activision merger makes me want to talk about one of the games that they're releasing in June, which is Diablo 4. So again, title of this stream is Diablo 4. Do we want more? And the conversation of Activision, greed, and all this stuff aside, what I will tell you is that yes, I want more of Diablo 4. So
what class did you pick?
A barbarian, which I'm okay with because that's my inside. That's how I feel. I love the paladin class. There's not a paladin in this game yet. There's only like paladin. No, there's barbarian, necromancer, sorcerer, rogue, and something else. I don't know. I'm always a tank type of character. And so people have been talking about the beta again for a bit now. The main issue right now in the beta is just ridiculously long queue times. I had a 78-minute wait. I almost quit, but I will say that I stopped from quitting and I played Crisis Core as I waited. Here's my thoughts. I think I'm really going to like this game. So you and I played Diablo 3. I think Diablo 3 was the first game I played completely on my PlayStation 4 when I got it with you. Remember that? We went to the Greek Food Festival, then you went home and I went home and we played Diablo 3 and we practically beat it completely.
Yes.
Yeah. I like Diablo 3. Now, are you familiar with the controversy of Diablo 3 for the Diablo fans?
No, did it like retcon a bunch of stuff or what?
So, I mean, Diablo 3, from a launch perspective, struggled with the way they handled the auction house, and there were a handful of other issues. But from a development perspective, there's a good book by a guy named Jason Schreier that basically, I forget the name of the book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. It's about like 7 or 8 games that had these notoriously troubling launches, some turning out good, some turning out bad. Diablo 3 had a pretty rough launch, but ended up redeeming itself and becoming one of the most important action isometric RPGs because it figured out how to play those on consoles effectively with controller input and all that stuff. It was a really fun game. I think the challenge with Diablo 3 is that they wanted to appeal to a wider audience. So the biggest criticism I've heard is that it's very arcadey and actiony and easy compared to those things, action was already in the game, but compared to Diablo 2 and 1, which was much more, you had to be more strategic and tactical.
Yeah, I just remember seeing videos of it just being more difficult. Like it was dungeon crawling and almost survival horror at that point, but you're still doing the isometric view.
Yeah, and so this is where a lot of people like our friend Greg Gresney, I'm gonna dox him too, I'm gonna give out his address now. He went towards Path of Exile instead. So there was kind of this triage where people wanted Diablo 3 to be more like Diablo 2, from what I can read and gather, and a lot of those people were lost on Diablo 3 and they went to Path of Exile. Path of Exile is a good game. I like Path of Exile. To me, Path of Exile feels kind of hollow in the sense that there's not the cinematic experience that Diablo gives you, which is what Blizzard does best is cinematic. Yep. It's amazing at it. I mean, even Overwatch, I know people that don't like Overwatch, but will still say those cinematic CGI sections they released to tell the story were amazing. They're like the Pixar of video games in a way. And so I'll say that to say, I feel like Diablo 4 is trying to do learnings from 3 and take the best of 2 with it. It doesn't feel as easy. Like I've come close to like dying. So you have to understand how to heal and all that stuff. It's a lot darker. It doesn't have all of the UI, like the lighting, the effects
Noise, yeah.
that really made 3 I feel so, I'll use the term like gauntlet. Again, I like 3. I played 3 on PlayStation, beat it on my Switch, played it on my PC. I played it a ton. Diablo 3, I played a ton. But it is very easy. Diablo 4 does not feel that way. I mean, it's definitely it's trying to balance the road of how do we appeal to large gamers, but also how do we stay true to what Diablo's about. And yeah, so I'm excited about it for that reason, because the gameplay does feel different. I mean, even the health and mana or stamina pots look the same as Diablo 2 versus Diablo 3. And I'll say all that to say it's cross-play, cross-platform, cross-save, so you and I could play together on PC and PlayStation, and I could bring my game to the PlayStation. I'm excited about that. And most importantly, the story is really good. Like, I am like disturbed by some of the imagery, not in a horrible way, but like they are capturing evil in such, like, the writing's good, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't feel as like, yeah, this is just generic themes. Like, yeah, no, it feels like they are getting very specific on certain topics that I'm just like, they really spent effort in the writing too. This isn't just some Candy Crush video trailer that's making you like, oh, look at that. Like, this is really good. So I'm excited for it. I played for almost 2 hours and then I got kicked, which is another issue people are experiencing. Long queue times and then getting booted.
Sounds like a beta.
Yeah, sounds like a beta, right? Sounds like a large scale network test that has a lot of people trying to access it. Yeah. So I mean, what I will say is, again, Activision aside, Blizzard aside, all those challenges aside, the people who actually made this game, they're putting in some passion with it, like the environment, the writing. Like I was, yeah, it's, yeah. I'm excited. So the answer is yes. I want more.
It's a good direction. They're heading in a good direction with this one.
Yeah, I think they are. But again, who knows? Again, I mean, like any company, what was the game that was coming out and they were like, there's not going to be any monetization or anything like that, and then reviews released, and then when the game went live after the reviews, they brought in all those monetization tactics and all that stuff.
I do know Crash Team Racing did that.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, it was like a month. It was like a month after everyone bought the game. They're like, all right, here's all the microtransactions.
Activision. That was an Activision game, right? Yeah.
That's the day I dropped off. I was like, nope, I'm not. It was kind of like after a month anyways, but I was working towards things. But as soon as they dropped all the microtransactions and I was getting bombarded with pop-up, look, $5, you can do this. Oh, pop-up. Yeah. I was like, I'm not doing this every day.
Yeah, I agree. That's sad because Crash Team Racing is perhaps the only kart racer out there that I think rivals Mario Kart. And it's sad because
it was the only one I could actually like. I suck at Mario Kart, but I actually enjoyed Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, Crash Team. Yeah, it was good. I've heard good things about the Sonic Unleashed game. The kart racer for Sonic Unleashed, and there was another one. I think it was Sonic Unleashed? I don't know. There was 2 Sonic racing games that came out in the last,
like, I think it's just Sonic Team Racing.
Sonic Team Racing, and then Sonic Team Racing Unleashed, maybe. Maybe.
I think Unleashed is its own thing with like a beastie Sonic. It's just Crash Team or Sonic. Oh man, no. Now I'm saying Team Racing. Now I think about it. Jeff from Beastcast always talked about it. Him and his kid playing it.
Yeah, and there's someone else from the Beastcast too. Oh, Jeff Gerstmann. Yeah, Jeff Gerstmann. Well, Jeff Gerstmann said it's good. I forget who else said it's good. Oh, Vinny always said that Sonic Unleashed is better than Mario Kart, which is a controversial statement, but I don't, I mean, it's your call. Someone in the chat says, don't forget Disney Speedways, Hot Wheel Unleashed as well. I mean, I've heard good things about. Did you play Hot Wheel Unleashed?
I did. I was surprised by that as well. I played it when it was free in the month of November or December. It was free on the PlayStation Plus monthlies. And and I sunk like 20 hours into that in like a couple of days, and I was like, wait, I need to stop. But yeah, it also, I don't think there's no microtransactions in it. There's definitely, you can buy bundles of cars, but you can just like play online and you make a ton of like the in-game currency. You can just buy the cars too. It seems super like, efficient with your time. But no, I was surprised with the mechanics of that and the environments, because you're like in a living room and you go outside, or you're in a construction zone, or you're on a school. It was a really cool game, especially since it was free.
Hot Wheels and Micro Machines, I always felt like they could make the best games. Camera's going out of focus again.
Harping on nostalgia big time.
Yeah, there was a Micro Machines game back on the Nintendo, I want to say, that was pretty awesome.
And it's good because they don't have to go for like, hyper realism. It's almost like cartoon racing cars. It's toys.
Yeah,
they can do a lot.
Oh, here we go. Will in the chat says Diddy Kong Racing was superior. I actually, Diddy Kong Racing, I love that game. Did you play Diddy Kong Racing?
I don't even know what system it's on.
It was originally an N64 game. It was made by Rare. It was made by Rare. It was the first game to premiere Banjo. Banjo from Banjo and Kazooie came out in that game. Yeah, and Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day. Those characters premiered in this game. There's this interesting history with Diddy Kong Racing, where the game was meant to be a platform for launching a lot of other kind of character-driven games around it. I think Banjo is the only one that actually happened. But Diddy Kong Racing was really good because it was a great N64 kart racer. Pops, I think, better than the Mario Kart on N64. But it was also like an adventure game too. Like there were missions. It felt like you would have little hubs like in Crash Bandicoot, and each hub had its own theme. And then you had boss races too. It was really cool. So it was a story-driven kart racer that was really well done. And the boss fights were, you had to beat the boss, but you had to do the racetrack in reverse. So like you were doing certain missions on each racetrack, but at the end you had to master it in reverse to beat the boss. It was really good. Yeah. But you're talking about the nasty tactics of monetization, right? And how with Crash Team Racing, it would come up in this way where it's just kind of in your face, right? So Fortnite as well, you mentioned how it's always in your face. And you mentioned this in the chat today.
Discord.
In the Discord. And we talked about this, I want to say at the end of December on Game Bites, whenever the FTC announced this, but they recently just finalized this. So this is from the FTC's website, protecting America's consumers. How about you just protect me? Don't call me a consumer. You're a consumer.
Just a consumer specifically.
Yeah, just consumers. If you're not consuming anything, get out of here.
America doesn't care.
Yeah. If you're not buying, you're not worth it. This is kind of harsh, but I think sometimes that's how things feel. But
the sad reality of things.
Yeah. Anyways, this is again from their website. It's written by no one because they don't have names. They're just digits. But FTC finalized the order.
They're NFTs.
Yeah, they're all NFTs.
The government. NFT.
I mean, kind of. You and I, we're not on the ledger, but your mustache is. So yeah, maybe the NFT is just reality.
This was the Fortnite. Are you talking about the Fortnite thing?
Yeah. So the FTC finalizes order requiring Fortnite maker Epic Games to pay $245 million for tricking users into making unwanted charges. So you shared an article from I forget. I'm looking at the FTC website, but why don't you mention the article you shared?
Well, I just wanted to say, like, the thing was with the FTC claimed that Epic used design tricks to get players of all ages, which that was the biggest surprise to me, that there's people of all ages playing this and not 8-year-olds, to unintentionally make in-game purchases using real money with counterintuitive, inconsistent, and confusing button configuration that led to unwanted purchases. So when I hear that, I think, yeah, someone probably, or I would not doubt that they made it in a way that kids could buy stuff on the systems when the adult is not watching. Yeah. I doubt that they made an effort. Wait, we have to stop people from spending kids from spending their parents' money unintentionally. We have to do a way to prevent that. I highly doubt that was their intention, but it turns out it was even more than that. They intentionally made these designs where you accidentally click that you're paying for stuff, or super easy to do so without like further confirmation or, so that's what's happening. But I just kind of, it's just, that's literally parasitic. It was someone's was told, hey, how can we design this to trick people to pay?
Yeah.
Not be forward about it. And that's just what's scummy to me. I mean, I just
Yeah. Yeah. I fully agree.
this
And
is not an accident. This isn't some new hire was told to, hey, make the pop up, if they want to buy this, just, they make a button up here and they can click it. Like, it wasn't just some new guy messed up. This took meetings and this took time, and people had to design it, and it was like, hey, here, what do you think? Is this parasitic enough? No, we need to make it more hidden and counterintuitive.
yeah,
That's why it bothers me so much.
it's yes, it's criminal in my opinion. There's a lot of things to say about it, but the language the FTC used was, quote, dark patterns. And the thing I think interesting, this isn't the first time that we've talked about this. I mean, the Senate interviewed Facebook back in 2019 because it came out that Facebook was encouraging kids to spend money that they didn't have. Like, it was, this has been a keystone, this has been a cornerstone of methodology and mobile game monetization for a while.
Yeah.
And
that's why the EU started cracking down on it, and like literally just classifying loot boxes as gambling, because that was a way to say that was a way for them to actually make rules on it. Like,
yeah,
gosh, 5-6 years ago, they like loot boxes and microtransactions were rampant. There was no control. It took governments to classify this as gambling. It took people pushing to classify this as gambling. And that's why, there was a peak a couple of years ago of how many games included all this stuff. And it's tapering. But some games like this design it so it's still happening,
Yeah, I always bring this up when we talk about this. So, like, I agree. Like, it is manipulative, and it is hearkening to a certain cornerstone of the human brain that I just don't think marketing needs to do. Like, I think marketing should give you value. I think it should tell you what it is. I think it should give you value. Like, that's why some of my favorite marketing ever is marketing that either entertains you or tells you, gives you, like, I always talk about the I Love B viral campaign from Halo 2. Like, it was a fun ARG game, but also it was marketing essentially, right? Similar to this beta. Like, you can demo this game for Diablo. It's marketing to get you to buy the game, for sure. There's that component too. That doesn't bother me as much because you are getting something out of it, but you're still getting the game too. So it's not like you're getting manipulated into something that isn't what you intend to do in the end run. This stuff is just kind of real dark, right? And I always bring it up to say that when pinball came around in the 40s and 30s, video games weren't a thing yet, but pinball, the forerunner of video games, pinball was banned by FDR in New York because he was concerned that it would turn the children into a group of gambling dens, essentially. So, like, this idea of this idea of gaming being connected to these troubling aspects has been around since gaming's come about. And there's a line that has to be balanced where, yeah, games can be good for a lot of reasons. Games are methods for us to play together, and when we play games together, we learn social rules and we have fun. Those are all intrinsically good things, but they can be dark as well, which is where they can just be like, you can be addicted to playing a game you probably shouldn't be playing, or like, spending too much time or money into these things, and these companies can take advantage of that too, just like gambling casinos take advantage of gamblers. And I bring all that up to say, like, whenever I've mentioned this before, but when I go to the boardwalk in Jersey, there is historically these great arcades on the boardwalk where I could play Tekken or Pac-Man, all these great games, right? Now it's all slot machine for children. It's all, like, every single thing there. I'm like, the only difference between these machines and a casino machines is there's smoke around them because people are smoking, and it gives out actual money, where these machines give out tickets. There was no Pac-Man machine. There was no Mortal Kombat machine even. I would prefer almost like that over, like...
You're paying for the experience, but that's what I think they argue with these. You're still paying for the experience. Hey, you might get something, you might not, but still, original arcade games was just 3 minutes of entertainment.
Yeah, there's this whole idea, like, in my town now, there's a bunch of these, like, games of skill popping up in these just empty buildings that are open 24 hours. We could come in and play these digital slot machines, and you could redeem the vouchers somewhere else for money that you won. And I think should be banned to call them games of skill. It is not a game of skill. right?
Game of chance.
Game of chance. And games are good when they focus on being a game of skill. And the main idea of that making money off them isn't using chance as the stick, I guess. And I think that's the trouble. But yeah, just to wrap it up, I'm glad Facebook is going to get knocked in their pocket, but this is nothing for them. My actual desire, yeah. Sorry, Fortnite. They're all the same behemoth in technology.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at, and this is the unfortunate thing, is this is probably something that accidentally, the amount of the fine is probably already a calculated expense on Epic Games' part.
Yeah.
The money they made, this 200 million is not even, or what is it, 200 million? It doesn't even matter. It's 200, it's nothing. It's not a billion. So
yeah, Facebook freaking.
This is already calculated in. This is just a write-off, not a write-off, but they don't care. This is pocket change. This is nothing.
Yeah, and I agree. So my desire is the FTC is going to sue Epic. Epic's going to be like, yeah, whatever. But I hope the FTC takes this and then applies it uniformly against the industry across the board. So mobile games, other video game companies doing that. I think that's my desire, because that's the real value. Is if the FTC sets precedence on this, people that can't really afford that will go, hey, let's not do this, and let's just get games away from this. Because like, here's the ultimate example. A game like Dark Souls, it is 100% a game of skill. There is no monetization. There is no, hey, get this loot box. It is just, there's not even a lot of flashy UI to like engage your brain in a way when it's not necessary. It is just straight up a good game. And game designers and developers who I think rely on these mechanics that are manipulative struggle to just make a good game in the end. And at the end of the day, and like I say that, and I'll say this is something people won't agree with me on. Fortnite, I think Fortnite out of all the battle royales is the only good one, in my opinion. I like Fortnite as a game because I actually do feel like I could play that and not spend money, but that doesn't mean that they're not doing all these things that aren't taking advantage of a lot of kids and a lot of other people too. So
their actual source for profit is the manipulation. Their source for profit is you not enjoying their game.
Yeah. So all that aside, and I'll say it again, I'm hopeful that it makes, because this stuff hurts indie developers too. When the precedent set that this is the way to make a successful game, the market sets a trend, everyone chases that trend. You know, if indie developers are not able to compete with that because most of them are good and say we don't want that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I just try to. I think you and I both agree that, you know, all we want is for things to be fair and just, and a game that we care about games, and if games are doing the opposite of that, then that's problematic. So
yeah.
So we got a few minutes left, Alex. Are you still good?
Yeah. I mean, we could. I'm still good.
What are you playing?
I did want to mention. I think one of us. I know I guessed, but I wanted to hear more about the Zelda amiibos that are coming back, and the fact that someone has to justify a $70 price tag for the biggest Switch game. I was curious about that, if that's even worth talking about. What's NSO games? Oh, Nintendo Switch Online. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of Nintendo stuff here that we didn't talk about.
So there's a handful of Nintendo news we could go through quickly. Number one being, again, article from Video Game Chronicles, written by Chris Schulian again. Nintendo did announce on their Twitter page that they're bringing a handful of games to Nintendo Switch Online, which you now have access to as a member of my Family Plan Expansion Plus.
I'm part of a family.
The adoption papers are in the mail.
Yeah, so, I don't check my mailbox.
Oh, that's not true. You yelled at me whenever your Midnight Energy wasn't there. Use code Joyful, not manipulative. Sorry. Yeah. So this is again articles highlighting the games that are coming out for Game Boy. We got 2 games, one for Super Nintendo and one for NES. Kirby's Dream Land 2 and Burger Time Deluxe, which I always played Burger Time on the NES, never the Game Boy, but I loved Burger Time. It was like a mix of Donkey Kong and Popeye. And a game called Side Pocket and Xevious. Side Pocket was basically billiards for the Super Nintendo. It was a popular billiards game at the time. And Xevious is a port of a Namco arcade game. So yeah, we got total...
Side Pocket is coincidentally also the method of payment for Fortnite in that fine. So it's crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's cool. I think so. Yeah, last March 9th, we got Metroid Fusion. For those who didn't play it yet, that's on the GBA. And yeah, they're adding games quickly. So there's also been rumors that we're going to see Zero Mission come out soon as well, which that's a remake of the original Metroid game for GBA. Great game, great game. Yeah, the other article. I mean, it's natural this happens. This is again from Tom Ivan of VGC. Doug Bowser. I said Bowser in the text because I was like, that'd be funny. Bowser says $70 is worth it. You're like, the villain? No.
No, I knew the guy's name. Even when I read that right there, I read it as the what is it, the head? Is it a new head of Nintendo?
He's the head of Nintendo of America. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew his name was Bowser, and I didn't even think about it as Mario.
Yeah. So again, people were kind of concerned whenever they announced it for $70, but this is a quote from the article saying, after the game's price was announced, a Nintendo spokesperson said, so $70 won't necessarily be the new norm for first-party Switch software, stating that the company determines the suggested retail price of its products on a case-by-case basis. And again, this is in regards to Tears of the Kingdom. And then Bowser said, on that matter, this isn't a price point that we'll necessarily have on all our titles. It's actually a fairly common pricing model either here or in Europe or other parts of the world where the pricing may vary depending on the game itself, which is true. They recently released like Kirby, which wasn't $70, which is getting good reviews. His whole point is that essentially, I think fans will find this is an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience. The price point reflects the type of experience that fans can expect when it comes to paying for this particular game. So,
counterpoint.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were $70, and I don't think that was justified ahead of time.
I mean, fair point. I think the 1 second, Plutarch, you're hurt. You should not be barking. Lay down. He's messing with Effie. He's limping over there.
Now he's instigating.
Yeah, now he's. I don't think so. Effie's biting his neck right now. Sorry. Yeah, Scarlet and Violet's issues are definitely sad to see when it comes to the price of that game. I still think, compared to Sword and Shield, which I like, but I don't know if that's popular. I liked Sword and Shield. I had a lot of fun with Scarlet and Violet. Now, is a Pokemon game ever worth $70? I don't know.
That's what everyone was saying before it came out. It's just like it never is. The game quality of just stuff that comes out at the same exact time by smaller companies that aren't the highest grossing gaming or franchise in the history, like as far as entertainment, the Pokemon company. And you have like these small developers putting out way high quality stuff at lower price points.
Yeah.
Not bugged at the beginning.
Yeah.
Taking more advantage of the software, all that stuff, hardware.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a lot of factors why. I mean, everything's costing more right now. Eggs are like, I don't know, eggs are not cheap either. So like, it doesn't blow my mind when I see non-necessary goods go up in expense too. But Bowser's whole point here is that this isn't going to be the norm, and he thinks gamers will be pleased and say, yeah, it was worth it. I think Breath of the Wild Breath of the Wild today could come out brand new at $70, and I think people would be pleased with it. So the only thing I'll add is, again, Nintendo, it's not like Nintendo is like an Activision where they're just making all their profits and giving it to the CEO. Like we talked about this before, Nintendo has a history. Like they just had a down quarter when it comes to expectations. It wasn't really a down quarter, but their stock dropped off, and they increased the pay of all their employees either way, right?
And I think didn't the execs take a cut? That
was back when the Wii U launched. Wii U University had that real troubling. It wasn't an accredited institution. There was all this controversy.
Yeah. The meal plan wasn't worth the price at the Wii U.
You're just reminding us of our own college experience, and we had no choice but to get the meal plan either.
Yeah.
Anyways, side note. But when that happened, the president at the time cut his executive salary by I think like 50%, and then directors and below him also took major cuts as well. Star Warp in the chat says, "Do you think a sequel will meet those standards?" Though I think so. I mean,
I think so.
This is a game that's being exclusively made for the Switch. Always a reminder that the first one was both consoles, Wii U and Switch. We've already seen patents released for this game that say they're using new technology to improve visibility, draw distance with, all kinds of features. And I think this is the biggest game Nintendo has for this year. So like, yeah, I mean, I don't like if you were a fan of the first one, I think it's been how many years? Almost 7 years since this one.
Yeah.
Again, Nintendo plays their cards close to their chest. Generic middle-aged white guy says they have a war chest where they could survive another Wii U. It's true. They could probably survive multiple more Wii U's and still pay their employees more. So yeah,
college.
Yeah, Switch University. Sign up for the family plan. Yeah. So yeah, that's all that was about. And then just another short blurb. We mentioned this a few weeks ago too, that this could be happening.
I think it was like multiple months ago, actually.
Yeah, but this is from Wario64 on Twitter. Wario64 is an infamous video game tweeter who tweets about deals or games going up on pre-order. Like, I got my Metroid Prime remastered copy like this because Wario tweeted about it.
Do you think when he introduces himself to his girlfriend's dad that he says, "I am an infamous tweeter of tweets"?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Wario64. Okay.
Yeah, Wario64 has been struggling to find a girlfriend ever since he kidnapped Peach64. Not a good look on the online dating scene. Everyone knows about it.
Talk about amiibos.
No, he just said that, okay, so this is his tweet, and this is just confirming what we've been seeing as rumors in the news, that as of right now on Best Buy, GameStop, and Target, the Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess amiibos are now back in stock. So these are amiibos that haven't been around for a while, and they're now back. So I would just think that you're gonna see more and more of the amiibos coming back. So amiibos started like 2016, right? And a lot of them came out for the Wii U Smash Brothers game, and then the new Smash Brothers game, and then a lot of other games too. And some of these are pretty old. Like some of these are before 2017 amiibos, and now they're bringing them back just for Tears of the Kingdom. So, yeah. I mean, I already have these. But
yeah, same.
Yeah, so I mean, for amiibo fans, which I have a bunch behind me, yeah, I would get the Guardian if they brought the Guardian back. I did not get that one, and that one's expensive.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger. I don't have that one either. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, he's a big boy. He's a big beefy boy. Anyways, so that's really it with Nintendo, besides the fact that Doug Bowser is gonna come at your house when you're sleeping and
just let you know that it's okay to pay $70 for this game.
Yeah, he's gonna knock on the door and say,
little nudge, say, hey, sorry to disturb you, just letting you know it's gonna be worth the price, I promise.
You know what's funny?
And he's gonna nibble on your ear, not because of like sensual thing, it's just he's nibbling, or he's teething, so expect that too.
My dog does that to me. Does that mean my dog is Doug Bowser? Effie, are you Bowser? I'll be sleeping in.
Bowser.
Oh gosh. Anyways, they are sending Jack Black on a PR campaign. So like,
I support that. I'll watch that if they live stream it, please. Yeah, I love Jack Black.
Jack Black is coming to all your houses now.
Again, he's teething, so expect the nibbles.
And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Alex, I mentioned I've been playing Diablo 4. What have you been playing, sir?
Oh gosh, the only thing I played a couple times this week, I forget what it's called. I keep like jumping to this part where there's a spotlight in the sky, and there's a helicopter, and then he sees his daughter, so he jumps down, and all the guys go flying in the air, and he's like, Pan! And then he like tries to fly over to Pan, and Dr. Hito's like, Gamma 2, stop him! And then Gamma 2 comes by, kicks him in the face, and then Gohan's back at the parking lot. Then he has to sick Gamma 1 on him, and he's like, I'm gonna do this in the game of justice. But I don't think it was a game, I think it was actually just the superhero America released new Dragon Ball Super movie. So that's all I've played 3 nights this week. I am obsessed.
You watched it 3 nights in a row.
I watched it in whole the first night, and then I just jumped to chapter 9 and watched like the last everything from Gohan landing at Red Ribbon to the end.
That was
awesome.
Not gonna
spoil anything?
Yeah,
I know. I just keep jumping to chapter 9. That's why I can narrate everything from chapter 9 on, even lines at this point. From chapter 9 on, I just keep starting it over. It's such a delight. I saw it in theaters 6 times with various friends. It's just your only way of...
Not one of them me.
Yeah, because I bought you a ticket, and I got my Icy, and I got my Cinemark gummy worms, and then I sat there, and you just never showed up. And I knew the plane ticket was $400, and I knew I picked a showtime at night, East Coast, and I thought maybe you're sleeping, but like you just never showed up. All right. And so I gotta go. I gotta go to dinner. You could talk to people about. You should talk about your experience with Dark Souls and your upcoming streaming.
Or you really got to go?
Yeah, it's our anniversary dinner. I gotta go.
Tell tell your ex-girlfriend I said hi.
I will. Yeah, but I won't be here for the sign off. But stay warm, stay cool, stay full, everyone. And don't let my mustache hit you on the way out. I gotta go,
Wow.
guys. I'll see you next week.
See you, Alex. See you. Yeah, so I'll oh, that's an ugly sight. Can we get that out of there? We won't. So I am now all alone, and the next 10 minutes of the show is just gonna be about my dogs. No. Yeah. So in terms of wrapping it up, games I've been playing, I mentioned Diablo 4. Very excited about it. I'm hopeful. But again, we all know that things could go south when it comes to certain monetization. But I think overall, it seems like a good start and improvement from what I saw in Diablo 3, being a fan of Diablo 3 as well. So with that, the other two games I've played, Dark Souls 3, as you know, I've been streaming that. Dark Souls 3 is a lot different in ways than Dark Souls 1, but I love it, and I can't wait to get back to it. Again, I think it just, not all games have to be as punishing as Dark Souls. That's for sure. But here's a game that's widely successful, has trendsetted the environment and the market, and games are following it, and they're not using a lot of these tactics we see in a lot of like other games too. So I just think it's possible for that. And I'm gonna get back to it. I'm still very early on in the game. And last but not least, what is that? Alex is back, I think. Seems maybe just on audio. But put you in, coach. All right, you're in. Dead Cells DLC. So Castlevania DLC expansion for Dead Cells came out about 2 weeks ago, and it's fantastic. So Dead Cells, again, one of my favorite games. That's a game I've gone back to. I purchased on multiple consoles. A game that's affordable. I purchased all the DLC on multiple consoles. I'm now playing through it again on PC, and I bought the DLC on PC, and it's really cool how they incorporated the DLC into this game. So for those who don't know, there's already been 3 or 4 DLCs already. Some have been free, some have been paid. And for the most part, they're just all built into the main game, where as you progress, you have opportunities to access new levels that weren't there. And for those who don't know, there's typically a tree. So like there's maybe like 9 levels overall to beat the game on each run, and you get to pick between 2 levels when you get to another tier. And eventually you go to the same boss as well for the most part. So Alex can do another 15 minutes only, he says, on audio. Alex, I'm talking about the Dead Cells DLC.
I know, I've been here the whole time.
I know, you just texted me as if I didn't know you were here. So yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I found out she like girls do this thing where they like dry their hair and spend like an extra 20 minutes in the bathroom. So like even though I'm ready,
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but a tactic I used is that I typically say the start time for an event is 30 to 45 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do that with my teams as a project manager when I see these are the milestones when we need to hit them, knowing that there's going to be some slack that we need. And I do it with my wife as well. It's totally okay. She knows. And I think at that point now it doesn't work. Anyways, Alex, the Dead Cells DLC is great. So you've played the Castlevania games on GBA? Oh, no, you haven't. No, you did. You didn't play Metroid.
Yes.
You like
exactly that.
If you like the Dead Cells combat, imagine if all of a sudden there were multiple ways to access Castlevania, like enemies and levels and environments and bosses and weapons and skins and Dead Cells.
I'm going to play it Sunday.
Okay.
All day.
Yeah, all day. Yeah.
Dead Cells DLC from 5 a.m. all day.
Yeah. So just as a tip, and this isn't a spoiler, but the way you access the DLC is on the first level. There's now a new alternative exit that you have to find. It's not hard. You just have to find some staircases going down. And from there, you can enter essentially the Castlevania portion of it. I beat the first boss. I then paused my run. But you go back and forth between Castlevania Land and Dead Cells Land. That's they're theme parks ultimately. That's how I'm going to say it. So
is there roller coasters?
I mean, a roller coaster of emotion.
Rides? I cannot do spinny rides.
No spinny rides, but lots of up and downs with your heart. So yeah, okay. It's really cool. It in a weird way, like this is the biggest DLC I think they've done yet. And in a weird way, it still manages to make it feel like this is a Dead Cells game. This is a roguelike run-based game. But there's still progression to the Castlevania portion that in moments is kind of permanent, if you will. And so it makes you feel like you're almost kind of playing a Castlevania game as well, if that makes sense. Like the meta narrative in Dead Cells is mostly in the main lobby, right? All the weapons you unlock and like additional things you can unlock.
Yeah.
Same like a lot of rogue games like Hades and all that. It's mostly on the lobby. The meta narrative progression in the Castlevania portion is definitely in the Castlevania world. So, yeah, that's all I had to say. There's nothing else I'm going to talk about. Alex, I know you've been playing all these NFT games, but they're all fake.
Yeah, that is the point. That is the point of NFTs. They're all fake.
Well, your mustache is fake because no one can see it anymore.
Oh, I pulled it off as soon as I got off the stream, and the adhesive is still there, but
no, that's
it's just a sticky
did you
mess.
Shave it?
No, it's still on there because I can't get in the bathroom because there's a girl in there hair drying herself, her hair.
She's using hair to.
She's not hair drying her arm skin. I don't know what to say.
Yep. All right. There we go. Alex, California. Interesting place. Here's the last two things I wanted to talk about. A game I think Alex should play, and I think chat should tell him he should play.
Don't do it.
Resident Evil 4 Remake comes out next week. I think next Friday, I want to say.
It's getting raving reviews from anyone who does reviews. So
yeah, it's got a 93 on Metacritic right now. I mean,
it's going to have an accolades trailer probably next Wednesday because it's getting 10 out of 10s everywhere.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is a favorite already, and people loved what they did with the remake of 2. 3, which wasn't, everyone's favorite game, they still liked it. So it just makes sense that if the formula is working, when you take it to 4, right, you're probably going to make some people happy. So yeah, I don't know, Alex. I think you could play that game. I think you could do it.
I'll just watch. Are you going to play it? Are you going to live stream it?
I won't stream it, but I'd play it in the Discord. I would stream it in the Discord, like stream it in the Discord, not on Twitch, so people could come in as I'm playing it. If you'd be interested in that.
I'd watch you play, but I don't have the drive to subject myself to survival horror. I just can't.
Yeah.
Like that's why 5 is like the least Resident Evil game to me. Like it has the characters in it, but it has it, but it's like the least like horror. It's more of an action game to me. I liked 5, but it also had phenomenal co-op.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the Resident Evil purists would say 5 and 6 are when the franchise got off the road. And I think like 6 was just like, oh well, people missed what we did with 4, 3, and 2 and 1. So like, what if we offered like 17 different campaigns? And some of them were very much like the action game we got in 5, and a lot of them were just like 1, 2, and 3. And that to me is like, well, now the game doesn't have an identity that it's shooting for, and it's just like gray vomit. But yeah, well, so yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that. Like I said, I'll if you want, I'll stream that in Discord, and if chat wants, happy to, welcome to join. The only other notable game that came out really besides the beta is Bayonetta Origins, Syriza and the Lost Demon. And I'm seeing like it's reviewing well. It's a game I honestly wasn't interested in, and now seeing how people are reacting to it makes me interested. It's got an 80 overall. It's a Switch exclusive, naturally, because they own it. But people are talking about how it's just a really unique game. People are getting kind of like a storybook Zelda feel from it, they say. And whenever you say Zelda, I'm like, oh, darn it. I got to check this out now. So yeah,
I'm now obligated to try it.
Yeah. I still haven't played Bayonetta 3. But yeah, I don't know. I'll keep my eyes out for it. It's number 13 for best Switch game of 2023 so far, which is actually interesting because it's only 3 months.
That's like a list of 14 games.
Yeah. Oh wait, now I want to see. Okay, number 1, Metroid Prime Remastered. Okay, that makes sense. Number 2, Persona.
Tears of the Kingdom. Top 3.
Well, this is games based on review since they released this year. So number 1 is Metroid Prime Remastered. This is on Metacritic as well. Number 2 is Persona 4 Golden. They did that port in January. Number 3 is Theater Rhythm on the Switch.
Oh, nice.
Number 4 is a game I've never heard of called Paranormasight: The 7 Mysteries of Hanjo. but I think I've seen a trailer for it. Number 5 is the port of The Legend of Heroes: Trails to Azure. Number 6 is A Space for the Unbound. Number 7, Octopath Traveler 2: Electric Boogaloo. Power Wash Simulator's on there. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of games I haven't heard of, but some of these are indie games. So
wait, did you just mention Power Wash Simulator?
It released on the Switch in January of this year.
I have a very weird segue that includes that. So
there we go.
What if I told you that Power Wash Simulator has canon material for Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Wait, what?
Yeah, there was a DLC for Power Wash Simulator in Midgar.
Oh.
And it includes you getting emails from like Tifa about when to clean up, or like, hey, were you there when the plate, or were you in Midgar when other things happen? I don't want to say it because I don't know who's not played that game yet, but that's a big spoiler. Wow, But yeah, there's Midgar DLC for Power Wash Simulator. I thought that's super cool. You're like cleaning off the mechs that they fight in the game and stuff, but it's not like fighting you.
Have you played it?
No, I just saw a random little drop that there's an extra game that has canon stuff from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it's such an interesting game to me because it's a game that I think speaks to something that is also very enjoyable in life. Like,
it is. Power washing is extremely therapeutic.
Yeah. Power washing is like, it speaks to like, you are dirty and you need to be clean, and we love this idea of just cleaning all these things with immense power. I use the dangerous power. So Dan Reichert got real in the Power Wash Simulator. Dan Reichert, longtime writer in the game space, and it's funny because I think he has a podcast, the Fire Escape podcast, and he used to be on Giant Beast Cast and Giant Bomb, but he's now the head of content over there or something like that. He used to be at WWE too. Either way, he got really into it like when it came out, and it was real funny because he's a curious homeowner who honestly admits he doesn't know much about homeownership. He is a homeowner, and he's like, maybe I should buy a power washer now. And he bought one, and he used it on his driveway, and he just tore up his driveway. Like,
oh no.
Yeah, he put divots in it and stuff. And I say that because I used a power washer on. Do you remember my old back porch at our first house? It originally had like green turf carpet on it. And I tore it off because there was water getting through, and so then I took a what are they called? It's like a circle drill. I forget. Circle blade drill. There's a term for it. The
one that actually like drills out circles.
It doesn't drill out circles. You use it for like cut like the edge of the circle you use to like cut an angle cutter. I think it's an angled cutter drill. Yeah. They're very powerful. Like they can cut through cement and all that stuff. And I used it on my back porch to basically clean out the leaky spots that were going into the basement and then put some cement patch over it. I think it's an angle drill. I'm not sure. It's a diamond drill. I know we have some diamond blade on it. But I then used a power washer, and I completely damaged my back porch. That's a long story.
Yeah, that took a while to get there, but yeah, thanks.
Yeah, well, I found $5 too along the way. So
there it is.
Yeah, Alex, that's it. I have nothing else. I'm gonna go probably start a login queue for Diablo, and then.
Hopefully you get it before you fall asleep.
Hopefully I get it before I fall asleep, and then I'm gonna go eat at a Shamrock Shake McFlurry from Mickey D's because it's St. Patrick's Day. So Alex,
I just got one final send off. If you have nothing else to say, you might want to slowly turn the music up if you figure out where I'm going with this. But
I have no idea where you're going, but I'm gonna slowly turn the music up.
All right, guys. I mean, just because of this week, I just wanted to let you guys know that whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars. So let's get to taking out their command, one by one. Valis to Auric. From what I can gather, he commands the siege dancers from the Imperial land take outside of Rubicon. He's well protected, but with the right team, we can punch through those defenses, take this beast out, and break their grip on Freehold.
That was General Zavala, right?
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Lance Reddick. Rest in peace. And with that, God bless everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. catch you on the flippity flippity flop, and I'll see y'all in tomorrow in the Twitch stream if y'all are there. Peace out, Alex. Have a good date with your ex-fiance.
Thank you, I will.
All right, Alex, you're now gonna be. Everyone's gonna be able to hear you, but not me.
I think she's still hair drying, dude. I don't know if I should just bring a hair dryer out here next week for the stream and just see how long it takes to. I think I could spend a good, like, 5 minutes on the hair on my head, but I think a good 8 minutes to truly respect what's going on my upper lip. If I just get like a, they should do like a little battery powered hair dryer, like a keychain that you could just dry your upper lip if, you need to, like after a good drink. Or, like when it's really cold and you're just breathing out your nose and then it gets icy, you have like a hair dryer for that. But I don't know. I'm hungry. I want to go to dinner, but my upper lip is so warm. But so is my